That changes the whole look of the bike, doesn't it? Hey, what's cracking, everybody? The fairing came for the Savage, and I'll tell you what, it's not going to take much to make it fit. When it came the other night, I took it all apart and I put the mounting plate here over the headlight. And I just took mechanics wire and put it on. So when I take the fairing and lay it over the headlight, I don't need to do much. Very little modification to the plate. I need to make an adapter plate, and then I'm going to hose clamp the bottom to the fork tubes. It's not going to take much. In fact, painting it is going to take longer than anything else. Just a little FYI, if any of you guys haven't watched my Instagram or my Twitter, and now I'm on TikTok, I'm getting fancy. This is my Sawzall that no longer saws nor zaws. I don't know what happened to it, but it makes a lot of noise. There must be a gear in there or something that died. But we've ordered a cordless one because now we're millionaires. That's besides the point. We're here in the garage and we've got the bracket for the fairing. Now, what I did was I made a plate that just simply bolted onto the handlebar mounts, and then I just sheet metal screwed it to the dyno mount. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to weld that solid, take the plasma cutter and trim these sides so it looks more uniform, looks a little nicer. Weld these holes shut, we'll paint the whole thing. I also want to weld the side solid where the bolts are, where the whole bracket will turn and spin to keep it from happening. Because the way we're going to mount the bottom is we're going to take the plasma cutter and we're going to cut a slit right here. Then we're going to cut this off. And what this is going to do is this will sit right where the fork tubes are, and we'll hose clamp them on. See, I looked at a lot of metric cruisers, as I said before, and their fairings are hose clamped on. We're going to use good stainless hose clamps. You won't be able to see them. Everything will work out just fine. So that's the plan. We'll go ahead and get this thing welded up and we'll get it put back on the bike. Yeah, that's how you get wheels that fit. Tips, tricks, and tools of the trade to kick your project into high gear. Brought to you by Dell's Performance. You want performance? Go straight to Dell. Nippy's tool tip of the day.
Wash Polanos.
You know, back when I started working on junk, everything I painted outside. I wouldn't paint anything all winter until nice weather came and I could spray outside. Mostly because my garage, you know, all my tools were in there. I had one garage, one bay, and I worked in there, so I didn't want to get, you know, overspray on my tools and overspray on everything I owned. So I waited for a sunny day. It's just the way it was. The construction company my dad owned, you know, he painted all the trucks outside. It was kind of what I was taught, paint outside. So fast forward quite a few years, painting in a garage. Gotta have a respirator. Even when I was painting outside, I should have had a respirator. But I won't spray without it. I will not spray anything without it. I won't even sand putty without it. Man, you gotta have a respirator. You can buy them anywhere. Hardware store, you know, Ace Hardware, auto body shops. You can buy them at Advanced Auto Parts, AutoZone, O'Reilly's, whatever auto parts store you shop at. Usually cheaper at the hardware stores, and that's where I got these at. We've got a hardware store close by here home called Long's Outpost. Actually, my new house and my old house was one very close. I think this one at Long's Outpost. I think this one I may have bought at Advance or AutoZone. But regardless, same deal. They all work about the same. You want to have them tight fitting on your face, wear them very snug, you know, and make sure you keep the filters changed. They have pre-filters in here. Both of them do. You know, you pop this cover off and the pre-filter comes out. There's a number, you can order a new cartridge. And this is a same deal, just, you know, this one's black, but it's still got the pre-filters you pop off and you change. So there's no difference. They're all pretty much the same regardless. You know, some of them might say, oh, so many microns of stuff. If you put it on your face and you can't smell what you're spraying, it's a decent respirator. Now, if you put a respirator on your face, and you can smell the paint that's making you sick and making you dizzy, throw the respirator away, and you should never buy that brand again. But most of them are the same. Good tool to have. You know, even if you're painting lacquer, when I do the wife's stuff the bookshelves and whatever you might do for your you know, home renovations, whether you're doing trim, it's good to have one of them on, especially if you're inside. Or even if you have a paint bay with an exhaust fan, you should still have a respirator. So, tool tip of the day, get yourself a respirator. It's something I've learned from buying parts from Hokuiki, Japan and Hong Kong and China and Budapest and, you know, places of strange origin, other planets. You know, you get the boxes and you can't understand the writing. You don't know if it's hieroglyphics or if you've been cursed because it came from a mummy's tomb kind of packages, like this fairing I bought from eBay. Even though it said U.S. seller, I'm sure the money went into a U.S. seller's bank account, but this did not come from the USA. When you buy these parts, you're not paying much for them. You are getting the minimum amount of work possible. A lot of these ABS parts, which this is ABS, and the fiberglass parts have a release agent on them to release them from the mold. You think they're going to pay somebody to wipe all that off with some kind of chemicals? No, they're not. You are getting them straight out of the mold. Ta-da, off you go. So, no matter what, when I buy stuff from Hokuiki or wherever it came from, I use mineral spirits and I wipe it off. Why would I do that? Because mineral spirits will take almost any agent off that they have on it, any release agent. Why do I do this? Because I bought things and I didn't do this. I bought a fairing for my VTX Honda I had, and I did not wipe anything off, and I will tell you what, I regretted it. The paint looked great. Didn't bubble, didn't lift or anything. Sprayed the clear coat, didn't bubble, didn't lift. It was awesome, looked great. Mounted my speakers, bought a windshield, and the windshield was a cheap eBay, Hokuiki, you know, some island out by Bermuda or in the Philippines, you know, little kids making it. Shows up at the house, I go to mount it, I had to do some work to make it fit, and guess what? I peeled the paint off of that like tape. So I always make sure that I take mineral spirits and wipe off. In fact, you can see the brown, that is probably the release agent. Like to make sure I get it all cleaned up everywhere paint's gonna go. Because why go to the trouble of buying paint? You burn $150 on paint. You know, and that's about what I'll have to paint this. I got $30 in what's left of the paint, and the third primer and everything in, sand. I'd say 150, 200 bucks altogether. In paint, when it's not going to stick, to do your due diligence, make sure you wipe it off, especially when you're buying cheap junk like that. I'm not going to sugarcoat it, that's crazy. So we get this all wiped off. What we'll do is we'll let it dry off, and we're going to sand it and go ahead and spray. Now, remember the trouble we had with the gas tank. You know, we couldn't get the paint to stick and it was bubbling. Something happened to the side cover and I didn't get to see it when we painted it. It's got some bubbles on it, and just in this part, not this part. This part's got some lifting and I don't like it. So while we're spraying this, I'm gonna go ahead and spray this too. Take care of it and make sure everything works out all right. So, here we go. We're gonna go ahead and spray the base coat on the fairing and the side cover that was all screwy and loopy and crappy. And as you see, I got my respirator, so get a sip of coffee and we'll get at her. The fairing is painted, and man, does it look good. Look at that. Look at it shine. Awesome. So we're going to go ahead and put her on. This thing looks awesome. Can't believe it's the same bike. It is such a difference, such a massive change. The purple's beautiful. I put the badges down lower so they were more uniform with the tank instead of the weird angle the Boulevards have. I don't know what's up with that, like they're rocket ship, they're taking off. I think the fairing looks great. Really fits the bike well. It fits the lines. This line here really seems to fit. Clears everything nice. And in all reality, when you do paint a motorcycle like this one, when you do a lot of work to it, the things that really still look like crap are usually your controls, because they're aluminum and they're usually, all stained and horrible, and your cables. This hides all of it. This hid all the ugly stuff that you always see on a motorcycle. A lot of the newer bikes hide it. It's all the wirings and the handlebars and the cables are nicer, but no, this hid all that. Makes it look like a whole new bike. You wouldn't know. If you saw the old blue one that was here 2 months ago, you'd say, it's not the same bike. Well, you know what? It is, and I'm happy with how it turned out. It looks good, and it runs good. We're done with this one. We're done working with the saddle. Next time I see you, we'll work with something else.